Hi, I'm Greg Ismay, and thanks for checking out the blog. Today we're going to talk about selecting a bid for remodeling your home. But before we get into that, if you're a homeowner and you're curious about the value of your home, please click the link above and you'll receive a free, no obligation home evaluation that will give you a pretty good idea of what the market is for your home. Okay, so today's topic is how to choose the right bid when you're doing a remodeling project on your home. So I've got 5 quick pointers for you to look into, to consider when you're doing renovation on your home. First off is looking at the overall scope of your project and getting a financial comfort with what you think the project's going to cost. Too many times folks will say, well, I've got $25,000, I want to do this scope of work, and first bid comes in at 65, the next bid comes in at 45, and the last bid comes in at 25, and they're typically that homeowner is going to choose that low bid because that's what they can afford, and they may have just not checked out the true scope of the work initially, and there's several tools that will help you with that. If you need some help, just please give me a call. Next up is to vet the contractor that you're considering hiring. And there are several ways of doing that, but overall, one example is there's a contractor across the street putting a door on for my neighbor, and he looks like he's a good worker and he knows what he's doing and he's got a nice truck or whatever that might be. Next thing, you're hiring him to do a kitchen project, which may not be his expertise whatsoever. Now, it sounds basic, but check in to make sure that the scope of work you're asking the contractor to bid on is something that that contractor has experience doing. And there's a number of ways you can check into that. Next up is to make sure that when you're reviewing bids, you're comparing apples to apples. You may get 3 bids, and that's recommended at least. And one may be very detailed, one may be moderately detailed, and one may have not very much detail. Don't feel bad about going in and asking the second and third bidder to provide more detail with their bids so that you can compare apples to apples. And that leads you into having a good idea of what's going to be going on with the bid, to also set up some financial motivation for the contractor that you hire. In other words, say it's going to be a 6-week project, and how is the contractor going to be paid is something you're going to want to look into. Number one, they're going to want some money up front. Shouldn't be a lot, but enough to get the project started. And then there should be payout or pay for performance clauses in that agreement that you sign to make sure work is being completed as money's being dispersed. And oftentimes we'll hear that a homeowner hasn't set up that type of a situation with their contractor, and then they're hearing, hey, it was a hot week and I need to pay my crew and I'd like a payment before the weekend, that type of thing. That's something that you really want to stay away from. And in keeping with that, as the project is going along, just make sure you're trusting what's going on, and don't be afraid to have a point of conversation with a contractor, or maybe even abort the job if things are not going as planned before you get into a situation where you're strung out and burning up more time, and maybe having a situation where you've got to hire somebody else to backtrack and repair things that weren't done properly to start with. So, don't mean to make this sound like it could be a negative situation, but it can be. Just wanted to give you some guidelines and some benchmarks. If you have any questions, please reach out to me and I'll share any knowledge I might have. Thanks for stopping by.